Hello, welcome once again to Music in My Ears podcast on YouTube. This particular segment is called J Talks, where we'll talk about our own opinion on Nigerian music and indeed in worldwide music. So today I just want to bring something else, something new about Nigerian music history, just to highlight some contributions that foreigners made in a way they influence Nigerian music. You know, these days we have a lot of collaboration between Nigerian artists and foreign artists, and it's one of the things that has really more or less helped to boost our music worldwide. Right now, we are reaping the benefit of such collaboration. We have nominations, and we have artists winning Grammy Awards, which was something that was looking far-fetched in the 80s and in the 90s. Not that we didn't have a go at it. We know that we had nominations for Sonny Okosun. We have had nominations for Femi Kuti, Seun Kuti, but thank God we've tasted this Grammy thing with Burna Boy, Wizkid, and the rest. So, talking about the awards, I'm talking about homegrown Nigerian artists. We equally acknowledge the fact that Seal won Grammy, H.E.R won Grammy, but talking about the real homegrown artists, those are the ones I just mentioned. And obviously they benefited from the growth of the trajectory, the growth of the industry has come mainly because of the international exposure, collaboration. When we started having collaboration with Drake, collaboration with Chris Brown, and other international artists, that really helped to prop up the Afrobeats music worldwide. But in time past, we equally had this kind of collaboration, and right now it seems the music industry is just new or something. Some people make it seem as if the industry is just starting, or maybe it's just starting like maybe 15 years ago, or that things that are happening are just things that came up in the past 1 decade or thereabouts. It's not really so. As a matter of fact, we have had these kind of collaborations in the time past, even without the help of internet, the help of social media. We've had international collaborations. So that's what I want to highlight today on J Talks on Music in My Ears. Music in My Ears channel on YouTube. So before I go on, please, if you watch this video, just help us. All we need is just a support with their subscription, with their comments, which will go a long way to help us in improving and in, as a means of encouragement to keep on documenting Nigerian music history the way we are doing it. So, in time past, let's say in the 70s, in the 80s, we've had this mainly technical and production collaboration between Nigerian music industry and we call it the foreign. We've had people like H.E.R, we had Eddy Grant, we had Ginger Baker. We've had a time that for those that are deep in the Nigerian music industry, that the industry was actually regarded as London era of Nigerian music. So these are the things we'll highlight in this very video. So we'll try and look at the people that contributed and helped in projecting the industry to what it is right now in the 70s and in the 80s. Sit back and relax and enjoy as we go in and look at the various um, characters, the various artists or individuals that made things happen as foreigners for the Nigerian music industry. Stay tuned. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome back to this new episode of Music in My Ears, the Nigerian music history stories, specifically on J Talks on YouTube. J Talk is a segment that we talk about everything music, including international music and the way Nigerian music went by. Not necessarily featuring any particular artist, but just topics, contemporary or historical, that we need to bring to the to inform the public, inform our listeners. So today we are on international artists or foreign artists that impacted on Nigerian music industry in the time past. We have already mentioned that the Nigerian music industry has grown over the years. Part of the reason is because of international collaboration between younger artists, current rave of the moment artists that have been able to cut across the globe, collaborating and singing with notable artists around the world, which has propped up our game, our positioning, to the extent that Afrobeats is now well recognized across the world, and our artists are doing us proud, winning awards and filling up venues around the world also. So today we are going back to history to see how collaborations were done in the time past between Nigerian artists and foreign artists, or foreign producers, or whatever technical support the industry got in the 70s or in the 80s. So the first personality we are going to talk about today is H.E.R. H.E.R is an American funk, soul and jazz composer and vibraphone player and a record producer. He is well known in America. He was born in 1940 in the Los Angeles area into a very musical family. He had a father that played musical instruments such as trombone, and his mother too played piano. Then he's been doing music since the age of 5, playing with his vibraphone. So in the late 70s, H.E.R toured Nigeria with Fela. As a matter of fact, they had a 6-week tour of Nigeria with Fela. We all know Fela. Fela is the pioneer, the originator, and the creator, initiator of the organic Afrobeat music. In Nigeria, we call it Afrobeat without the A's, while the current medium that we are listening to is Afrobeats. That's Afrobeat with the A's. So Fela is widely known and accepted as the creator of Afrobeat music. So in the 70s, H.E.R was in Nigeria and did a 6-week tour across the country with Fela. So that is the kind of thing we are talking about when we are talking of collaboration. Not like Fela to chase H.E.R, go to America, maybe spend money, get recordings done and all that. But this guy came to Nigeria, tried to understand and feel the music. So these kind of things bring a lot of impact in the industry and to the industry. I mean the local industry, because already Fela is an established name. So coming together with a big guy like H.E.R was something that impacted positively on the Nigerian music industry and the local industry. And not only did they do the tour, they went on to release an album. I need to describe this album. The project was such that one side of the album was for Fela, the other side of the album was for Roy-Ayers, and it was released on Phonodix record label in 1980. Phonodix record, I must just mention, it was not an international label. It was not one of those foreign labels. It was actually a local label owned by the Apala musician, the popular Apala musician. The name has skipped my memory right now. So you can imagine the extent that this great artist came all the way from America, played around the country, and released an album on a local label. That is what we call collaboration, to impact or to influence or to help promote and grow the local industry. So that was the effort of Roy-Ayers on Nigerian music. So the album itself was two-sided, as I said earlier. Title, Music of Many Colors. Music of Many Colors. On track A, side A, we had Africa, Center of the World, which was Fela's side of the album. And the style of music was Afrobeat, jazz, funk. The two characters are distinctive in those area. Fela for Afrobeat, Roy-Ayers for jazz, funk. So Fela had side A, Africa, Center of the World, with his artists, with his musicians, the drummers, and all his band. Then side B was for Roy-Ayers, and the album that side was titled 2000 Blacks Got to Be Free. He had production, arrangement, and some instrumentation from his people, and also with support from Fela's people. So that's the kind of collaboration that Ayers and Fela did to help the Nigerian music industry, because we are talking about it now. If they didn't do it, we will not be here talking about this particular collaboration, this particular project. So that was the influence of Roy-Ayers on Nigerian music. So we'll move on shortly to the next artist. Stay tuned. Okay, you're welcome back to this new episode of Music in My Ears, the J-Talk segment where we speak about everything happening in music, both Nigerian, African, international, American, British. We'll try to share the little we know about music across the world. We'll be talking about the foreign artists that contributed to the growth and development of Nigerian music industry in the time past. We just listened to Roy-Ayers and what he has been able to do, or what he did in his lifetime, how he contributed to the Nigerian music industry by working with Fela Kuti and touring Nigeria with Fela Kuti. The next person we are going to talk about is a massive one, is a big one, and it's none other than Ginger Baker. Ginger Baker is a British, or was a British drummer from the group called Cream and Force of Nature drummer. Those are the two groups he was most known with. But out of curiosity, the man decided to come to Nigeria to experiment and see what he can tap from African drumming into his own rock and jazz fusion drumming. So coming down, he collaborated with Fela once again, leading to the release of the massive landmark 1971 live album, a combination of Fela and Ginger Baker, and again, he released, with Fela again, they did Why Black Man They Suffer in 1971 prior to the live album. So that's how much the man did. Beside that, he actually came down to Nigeria to set up a studio and help in grooming a set of artists that later impacted so much on the Nigerian music scene. We are talking about people like Beckley Jones, we're talking about people like Leolo Ekins, talking about the Jadu sisters, talking about Tunde Kuboye, talking about Johnny Hastrop and Mono Mono, talking about T-Mac. A lot of the artists of that period actually went through Ginger Baker. He released an album with Salt. Salt was the band that had Leolo Ekins, I mentioned earlier, Beckley Jones, Johnny Hastrop, and he actually toured Europe with these guys. That was the kind of person Ginger Baker was, coming in to actually develop the industry. And his activities led to the formation of the creation of the genre of music called Afrofunk, which we've been speaking about for a while now. Afrofunk is a fusion of the African, the rock, and the funk. So with his own style, he was able to, help develop this genre, and it was just the contemporary music of the time. That's why he had the groups like Funkies, Strangers, Sweet Breeze, Apostles, Action, all imbibing this music form, basically because of the work of Ginger Baker. He's a known drummer and still regarded as one of the best drummers, indeed the best drummer in the world. Even though he passed on way back in 2019, his work is still there. He's rating all ratings across. He has to come in as top 3 drummer in the world up till now. So that is how great Ginger Baker was, and we are actually appreciative of the fact that he recognized what Nigeria could bring, what Nigerian artists could offer. Indeed, the passion he showed was such that Ginger Baker actually drove across the desert, across the Sahara desert, all the way from United Kingdom to Nigeria to settle down and spend years playing gigs, building other artists, building young artists of the time to become stars of their own, recording albums, releasing albums, working with Fela, So, this is the kind of collaboration that has actually helped. Imagine creating a whole music form, because of these activities. Like we keep on saying, we appreciate the new generation, what they've done. These things were equally happening way back. They were equally happening. Otherwise, probably what we have now might not have come to be, even not for the effort of people like Ginger Baker, Royals, and the rest. So we'll move on to another artist when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to this episode of Music in My Ears, the J Talk segment. We were talking about foreign artists that contributed to the Nigerian music industry in the 70s and in the 80s. One of the people that really made a mark in promoting or contributing to the Nigerian music industry was none other than Eddy Grant, which we popularly know as Eddy Grant. Eddy Grant was born in the Caribbean nation of Guyana in 1948, but later moved to England, to North London, with his musician father in the 60s. But growing up in the Caribbean, Eddy Grant has been exposed to distinctive sounds of African and Indian music, which is what Guyanese people enjoy as their own form of music. And then in London, Eddy Grant later teamed up with in a multicultural group to form the Equals, you know, and the Equals had this chart-topping song "Baby Come Back," with Eddy Grant being the songwriter. Later on, Eddy Grant, for some reasons, left the Equals, especially his health reason. He left the Equals at a very young age of 23 to face a solo career. But along the line, being an Afrocentric person, Eddy Grant collaborated with Nigerian artists, particularly Sonny Okosun. He's responsible for the production of 3 of Sonny Okosun's albums, including Fire in Soweto, Papa's Land, and Sonny Okosun 1980. The album that was released in 1980 with that same title by Sonny Okosun. So Eddy Grant also had this massive Yoruba song, the Yoruba version of Say I Love You, a 15-minute song rendered solely in Yoruba, and the credit for that song, for the songwriting, for the singing, is for Eddy Grant. So that's how far Eddy Grant went as a person, in contributing to the Nigerian music industry. But above that, in the 80s, some part of the 80s, the Nigerian music industry used to be referred to as the London era of Nigerian music. The reason is that most of our post-production work, mixing, mastering, used to be done in London. Some of the video shoots of those days were done in London. So the industry aptly titled that era as the London era of Nigerian music industry. One of the places that the Nigerian artists used to go, or the labels used to take their artists or the works to for the final production, is the Eddy Grant studio in London. He set up this Coach House studio where much of this were done. So Coach House studio with some other studios around London, like Abbey Road, were like a maker of sort for Nigerian artists who sought out to do their final cut, their mixing, their mastering, So that's just to show how Eddy Grant contributed to the Nigerian music industry. Remember also that his brother, Rudy Grant, also had something to do with Nigerian music industry, because he released his own album on a Nigerian label on Tetone, that's Tabansi's imprint, which it still goes far to show the enthusiasm and the love for the Nigerian music industry by Eddy Grant and his brother. He is well known. He's still living in the Caribbean after moving away from London, from England. He moved back to Barbados, where he still set up studios, and still singing and still performing, even though he's going like 75 years now. But so we really applaud Eddy Grant for his contribution, and having so much passionate interest in African rhythm and other forms of music like soca and calypso, which resonates well with the African kind of music. So we thank Eddy Grant and continue to wish him success and long life in all his endeavors. Okay, that was Eddy Grant's beat. Now you're welcome back to another review that made its impact in the Nigerian music industry in the time past. This time around, permit me to introduce a vocal trio known as the Galaxy. These guys were actually Britons, and includes Pat Henry, Tracy King, and Wendy Harris. Like we have said that the 80s was kind of termed the London era of Nigerian music. So some of the inputs that actually came in form of recordings was the use of foreign backup vocalists. One of the most popular of those with the Galaxy, made of these three individuals who individually and as a group were part of the recordings of so many great albums by Nigerian musicians, including SB Family, Pat Finn, Roots Foundation, Felix Liberty, Emma Dogo. So these people made use of the services of the Galaxy members as backup vocalists. It's good to highlight these things for the benefit of the new generation to really understand what really went down in the music industry. The industry was equally very deep. There were technical things that were going down that made their recording equally good, even though they didn't enjoy the benefit of maybe the internet or social media to break into the international market. The Galaxy on their own had their own recording on a Nigerian label on Third Tone that belongs to Tabansi. So their recording is equally titled Galaxy, self-titled album. But the important fact of that recording is that the man behind most of the production and even the songwriting is none other than versatile producer, one of the best producers Nigerians has ever produced, in the name of Jack Solo. I wish Jack Solo was still alive now to collect all his flowers and accolades, but then life happened to him and he's no more with us. So that was the Galaxy. They did well by supporting Nigerian artists in the 80s. When we come back, we'll bring another person or another group that had impact on the Nigerian music industry. Stay tuned. Okay, you're welcome back to this special episode of Music in My Ears, the J-Talk segment of Music in My Ears, the Nigerian music history story on Spotify and on YouTube and on every other channel. Right now, it's my pleasure to introduce another group that supported the Nigerian music industry so immensely in the time past. This time around, I'm referring to the group known as the Sweethearts of Sigma, or the Philadelphia Angels, or the Sweethearts of the Sweeties. It's another vocal trio similar to the Galaxy, but this time around it's made up of Barbara Jane Ingram, Carla Benson, and Yvette Benton. These three people came together. It was actually founded by Barbara Ingram. They came together as a trio to support musicians in terms of background vocals, in their recordings. Barbara Ingram, if you can pick out the name, is actually a sister to the very popular American R&B singer late James Ingram. And as a matter of fact, they used to come together as a group with some other siblings to form the Ingrams, a family group. So Barbara Ingram, with her colleagues in the Philadelphia Angels, actually took part in a lot of recordings. They backed Chris Okoti on his recordings and some other artists in the Nigerian music industry. So it's a good thing to know. It's a good thing to see how the development went. Apart from the background vocals, we also had several other foreigners coming together to play some roles in those in that time. Someone like Carl Parolo, Choco Brian, David Starobin. These are technical guys in terms of engineering. Jerry Cohen, playing instruments, and these are some of the guys that actually brought out the beautiful music we had from Chris Okoti in the time past. Chris Okoti was easily one of the best, the wonder boy of Nigerian music. So you can see where that was coming from, because he had a lot of foreign support. So we move on to the next person or group that supported the Nigerian music industry in the past. When we come back, stay tuned. Okay, you're welcome back once again. I am Joseph Asipo from musicinmyears.com from J-Talk. Yeah, at this point I want to introduce a surprise personality that was part of the Nigerian music industry in its own way, in its own very special way. I know it will come as a shock for some people, but for deep music industry people, deep music historians, they will get to know that this guy was actually part of Nigerian music. But even then, a lot of people would not have known that he was actually a musician, because he has an endeavor that everybody, the whole world, knows him for. I'm talking about Frederick Carlson Lewis, popularly known as Carl Lewis. Yeah, we know Carl Lewis as an athlete, a top athlete. In fact, Olympic gold medals, multiple Olympic gold medals, the star of 1984 Olympics, So, but a lot of people don't know that Carl Lewis was actually equally a musician. He has several releases to his credit. He has albums, he has singles. He has about 2 albums to his credit. He has Modern Man, Carl Lewis and the Electric Storm. He has several singles: Going for the Gold, Break It Up, Love Will Do, Lovers Don't Stop, In the Dark, as singles, and has so many appearances in other projects, in other musical projects, But to his credit, Carl Lewis took part as a backup singer for a Nigerian artist. Surprise? Not really. But you see, that's how the world is. You don't know where you meet up with supposedly so big star, But so this time around, Carl Lewis was a backup for Nigeria's Mata Olaito for his 1985 album Africa Rise, released on Ola Records, our own personal label. So I find it, very important, very impressive that a caliber of personality in the caliber of Carl Lewis will work with Mata Olaito at that time. So we applaud him. We like what he did, though he did not make it big as a musician, but he made it massively big as an athlete, and he has contributed his own. So we find it necessary to bring this to this very episode. Carl Lewis, the superstar athlete, was part of the Nigerian music industry in his own way. Thank you. Stay tuned as we come back with another individual or group or whatever that, or whoever that was part of the Nigerian music industry in the time past. Stay tuned. You're welcome back once again to the J-Talk segment of Nigerian music history podcast, Music in My Ears. Right about now, it's time to introduce the next personality that impacted on the Nigerian music industry. Indeed, Nigerian hip-hop will never go without us mentioning this name. I'm talking about none other than Scratch of Son of Sound. Scratch, otherwise known as Ron McBean, is American. He came all the way from New Jersey, from America. He was part of a New Jersey DJ crew in the late 70s. They were actually signed on by Sugar Hill Records. Sugar Hill, that's led by Sylvia Robinson. That is, can I call it the royalty, the hip hop royalty label, Sugar Hill Records, that, we can say the pioneers of hip hop recording in America, which later made the music to blow worldwide. So Ron McBean has been part of that system from time. He's a known DJ. He was the core of the sound production team that brought out many sounds, so many music, including The Incredible Hum on South Soul record and some other releases. But in the mid-80s, Ron decided to come down to Nigeria to become part of the pioneering system of hip-hop music in Nigeria. He came down and formed Sound on Sound, which included Mr. Cool, Mustafa Amego, the late Mustafa Amego, Monica Morodion, and also Ras Kimono. I came with another American, Troy Williams. They formed this group and released one of the major hip-hop albums of that time, titled From Africa from Scratch. We cannot do much more than to say thank you to Ron McBean, Mr. Scratch, DJ Scratch, for your contribution to Nigerian hip-hop, for your contribution to Nigerian music. Not much he said about Ron this day, but then, we have to just give him his flowers, give him his prop at this moment. And this is a guy that has, worked with so many people in America before coming down to Nigeria, So this is the essence of bringing this history to the knowledge of the younger generation. Sound on Sound, the album was released in 1988 and had this very important song called I'm African. It was a chart topper around the country. So that is it. That was the contribution of Ron McBean to the Nigerian music industry. Thank you. Hold on. We'll be right back. Okay, you're welcome back to Music in My Ears, the J Talk segment. Today is all about the foreigners that made impact in Nigerian music in the time past. Yeah, we've spoken about the Americans, the Europeans, but then around us, from Cameroon, from Ghana, Sierra Leone, Congo, we had a lot of, a lot of them coming into the Nigerian music industry and playing their part as band members, as session men, as producers. So numerous to mention. You have like of Billy Bayanak, Eugene, you have H.E.R Caston, you have Etienne Caston, and Saint Myron Kala, that were, part of, the Doors and several other bands like that all over the country. We had some of them now forming into the bands. We had producers like Gonotelis, we had Leslie Bronner, so many people that came across the West African sub-region into Nigeria, some from Congo, So these are some of the things, some of the experiences of the 80s, the late 70s to the 80s. And these guys are exceptional musicians, exceptional guitarists, very good session people, very good live performers, live instrumentalists. They all contributed to the Nigerian music industry, and it is a place to equally give them a mention in this episode because they've done so well. Gonotolis, as a producer, was equally responsible for some of the great albums. You're talking about Manix Okonkwo, Dizike Falola. He worked with a lot of people, and one of the best producers of the late 80s that we had before he moved back to Cameroon, where he later passed on. So these are all contributions from people that came into Nigeria and made impacts and equally helped in shaping the music industry, which has grown to what is now accepted worldwide as Afrobeat. So we thank them all. Meanwhile, keep on tuning to Music in My Ears podcast on Spotify, on YouTube, and any other platform that you meet us. and help us to improve and grow by subscribing, by liking our posts, by making your comments. We like the comment because it will help us to improve. So thank you so much. Until next episode, peace out.